Hi everyone, we are live and we are waiting on Emily Guernsey to discuss flexibility, finding space in life and on the yoga mat. So swipe up if you would like to see the replay. Hi Bambi. All right, just send me a request. Let's see. Okay. Oh, stop it, Bambi. Tell me more. You're about to see the other radiant Guernsey sister. Let's see. Yay! There she is. Hi. Hi. So, we've got a couple people on. Maybe some more will pop on. This is my sister, Emily Guernsey, tuning in all the way from Paris. Hey, Jill. So, we're going to give it maybe just a minute as people pop on. But today is not about stripping. Save that for tomorrow. We are going to be talking about flexibility, finding space in life as well as on the yoga mat. So, and part of Emily's journey and what that's been like. So, brief introduction, and then I'll let her take the floor. She's my Caesar, so she is from Maine as well, and through her acting and studies of French, she has been led to France at 7 years?
5, but close.
Ooh, took a shot. So she's been there forever, and she's done a lot of, she's been on her own spiritual journey for several years. She has done some serious yoga teacher training. She's an actress, and she's even nannied in French. Like, I can't understand kids in English, but she understands what French kids are saying. So that's pretty amazing. Anyway, so what do you want to tell the people, Em, about you?
What about me? Well, there's a lot, but I won't go into all of the details. In terms of yoga, which I feel like is probably the most relevant, my first yoga classes, like regularly, was actually through university credit. It was in the dance curriculum, and you could take a yoga class for a semester. So I did that my senior year because I didn't have much else to do and thought it sounded like, what?
At Elon.
At Elon University in North Carolina. Yeah, so I took that, and that was really wonderful, and that kind of like spurred me into the summer after senior year before I came to France to teach English, which was just supposed to be for a year. And so I was very yoga that summer, just getting into it, just discovering like yoga personalities online. Who probably have heard of, found Rachel Brathen, aka Yoga Girl, and she really like sucked me in. I did it with a lot of people because she was sort of a very like down to earth yogi. It wasn't just all perfect pictures on Instagram, which I think brings you in, and then that gets old really fast. So then I kept it up in France for the first year. I was pretty good about staying with everything, and then it sort of would fall, like it came in waves. I would go through these intense periods of doing yoga every day, and then I'd fall out of it for a little while. And so then in 2018, I was like, okay, I'll do a yoga teacher training because I could and I wanted to, and I was curious. And at that point, I'd been teaching other things, so I knew I had the capacity to lead a group. And so I did that in Barcelona in August of 2018, which was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. And then I surprised myself because I came back and taught for about 4 or 5 months, and then just realized it wasn't the time for me to be teaching. I think somewhere down the road I probably will really
Divine timing.
Yeah, but it wasn't the right time. I felt like while I deepened my practice, I hadn't deepened it to a point that I felt fully comfortable guiding others in that way, because obviously yoga is a spiritual journey as well as a physical one. And that was something, so the yoga teacher training was Ashtanga Vinyasa. And I'd never done an Ashtanga class in my life before. So if you're watching this, maybe you know what Ashtanga is, maybe you don't. I had mostly been doing these like Vinyasa flow classes, which were absolutely amazing. In Maine, I was taking classes with Greener Postures, and I fell in love with the heated classrooms and the Vinyasa flows there. And then in France, I didn't have a studio for a really long time. And so this was my first time learning anything about Ashtanga, and we were doing it every single morning and in most of the afternoons as well. And so if you don't know, Ashtanga is a very rigid practice. It's a set series of movements, and there's actually not, funnily enough, a lot of flexibility within that. You're really supposed to do the movements in the order that they're in. There's a lot of physical flexibility in Ashtanga. There's like a whole hour of forward folds, which absolutely killed my sacrum. And I actually found out that I loved that. I loved it just took any stress of having to figure out what I wanted to do next, having to follow a flow, wondering what the teacher was going to do next. It just having it set, that rigidity, that structure, I really needed that at that time. And so when I came back to Paris, I found an amazing studio here for Ashtanga right next to my house. And then in the winter, I moved because of cockroaches, as you know, that story. So I've been moving across the river in Paris. And if you know Paris, it's not very big, but across the river can feel like a whole nother world. And so I ended up being a little too far away from my Ashtanga studio, which is at République, to really go as frequently, because they had what was called Mysore. So it's like 3-hour block, and you go in and you do the practice at your own pace. And they have guides there to come over, push you into postures, help you out, but you do it, everybody in the classroom is at a different place in the practice. It's really cool.
That's cool.
But I couldn't get there for 6 a.m. It just wasn't going to happen from where I was living. So I ended up finding a hot yoga studio down south by the Luxembourg Gardens, which was a Bikram yoga, which I don't think we're supposed to call it Bikram yoga anymore. But I learned hot yoga as something else, and Bikram, Ashtanga, is a set flow. Yeah. If you want to get into Bikram, we can get into that later.
I think that's like a specific kind, right? Because there are a lot of hot yoga studios that call themselves Bikram studios, but I think that just means that they teach Bikram classes in addition to all of the hot Pilates and other forms of yoga within the hot space.
He was the one that popularized this series of movements. So like Ashtanga, it's a set series of movements. And so I loved that, and I loved that it was hot as well. It kind of combined two things that I adored. And then again, I moved again, and I fell out of that, and also was really broke and couldn't afford to be paying these fees anymore.
Interesting point of view.
What? I did it though. I did it for a long time though. I kept it, and then I found a studio right next to me here at Bestie, which Studio 3, which was just run by an adorable woman named Kazumi, and her classes were like 5 to 7 people, and that was where I was pre-confinement. Yeah. Is that what you meant when you said tell a little bit about me? That was my life story.
Yeah, no, but I want to hear, let's see. We could talk about, like, do you have any, like, defining moments from your time in Barcelona doing your yoga teacher training? What that was just, like, really, you felt like were spiritually, like, they really moved you forward, or you had, like, any revelations or anything like that?
I'm sure it was full of revelations. I tend to remember the overall feelings of my experiences rather than the specific moments, which is something I think you know that I have trouble remembering specific things. You remember so many specific things about our childhood, and I don't, but I remember very strong emotions from certain circumstances. So I think overall, it's a bit rocky the first week, but overall I had a lot of revelations. Some physical, with going upside down and losing some of the fear of having my feet over my head and things like that, and learning to fall.
It's a long way down for us. We're both very tall, for anyone who doesn't know us in person.
Yeah, our feet go really high in the air, especially when it moves from just headstands to like arm stands and handstands, which I still, I've just decided I'll get there by the time I'm 30. I'm not focused on it right now.
Okay.
But the one big disappointment was that I actually was pretty ill and ended up missing the day that was devoted to meditation, where there were numerous meditations, a mala meditation, in gratitude, I think, and the big one was the candlelit one, staring at a candle, which was mentioned to me before too. So I missed those. I think that would have been a really big day for me. So I'm bummed to have missed that. But I was lucky because the studio was also really small, and our classes were just run by these two women, Andrea and Erin, and Andrea definitely has more of like this really spiritual connected side to Ashtanga, because it is in essence, yoga is a religious practice. Whether or not you want to admit that in your daily practice, you can choose the physical side of things, but the reality is, culturally and historically, it is not. Yeah, exactly. And so for the first time in my life, I really learned about what it meant, what the mantras meant at the beginning, how to really devote yourself to the practice, and that taught me a lot.
So
and allowed me, what?
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it allowed me to sort of, by making my practice deeper spiritually, I was able to let go of some of the expectations I had for myself physically, and some of the judgment that I held for where I was or where I should be based on how long I'd been practicing, which has been like 6 years now. And that's helped me a lot too.
The ego loves to compare to make ourselves feel bad. Do you have, I can't remember if you've done Kundalini or have much experience with that, but that's supposed to be a very like heavy on the spiritual, light on the physical demands, right?
Yeah. I was looking into more Kundalini classes actually before quarantine. Well, I don't know what we're calling it.
We call it quarantine over here.
Well, we call it confinement, which was the period of like 50 days or so that we were locked in our apartments.
Yes.
And probably
confinement sounds so much more aggressive, although it is that aggressive in some places.
Yeah. That was a
cool. So let me think. So what would you say, how has yoga since that time? I mean, you've been practicing on and off for periods of, ebb and flow with it, because life happens sometimes and we lose the drive. So how has it helped you in terms of your own spiritual practice and realizing that you do need to make the time to have this as part of your habit, self-care, self-time, because in society today, that's at least America's favorite excuse, I feel, is I don't have enough time. And what that really means is it's not important enough for me to make the time. So people use that as an excuse to not do things, to not see people, but they also use it as an excuse for themselves, when like the subtext there is, I would rather watch Netflix for 4 hours than do my yoga practice, or I would rather be on Instagram for an hour instead of meditating. So yeah, I just babbled.
Can you sum up the question?
So how has yoga been a part of your personal, we weren't really going to go too much into rituals in this conversation, but like in terms of the things that you do, has yoga been a part of like that, making time for yourself?
Yes, off and on. I at this point in my life, the only ritual that I have daily is that during confinement and post-confinement, Joshua, who's my fiance, we have been waking up and been spending like an hour in bed reading and drinking coffee. So that has been what the rituals of the last few months have looked like for me. My meditation and my yoga practice, they haven't been as structured as I once thought they should be. And I found that at the beginning, by pressuring myself into doing yoga, like setting aside every day, like 90 minutes a day to do it, or like 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week, by adding that pressure,
Makes
on
it a
myself.
chore.
All I was doing was opening myself up for guilt later when it didn't get done, because you can't always do it, whether or not your excuse is Netflix, which sometimes mentally you need, or
Yeah.
whether your excuse is just I had a really full work day, because that's the kind of job you have. So I think I started finding balance when I stopped viewing my yoga practice as this like 90 minutes a day in front of a teacher or on my own thing.
Right.
And I found that once I started, I thought of something earlier to say. When I stopped, when I held myself to this like rigid, must be daily because this is what is going to help me spiritually, like it's what I should do. When I was holding myself to that, I found that I was saying no to a lot of other things in my life. And as soon as I started saying yes to other things instead, then my yoga practice changed, and it became something that was more intuitive and more personal. And some days my yoga practice is 5 minutes of stretching and 10 minutes of meditation, and that's it. And other days I will get on the mat and I'm there for like 2.5 hours, and I don't get tired, and it feels amazing. And other days I log on to, we did Rachel, my friend came over the other day, and we spent an hour and a half, and we tuned into Rachel Brathen's like full moon ceremony, and that was a combination of journaling and yoga. So it looks like something different every day when I'm able to act intuitively. And some days it doesn't happen, and instead I go sit on the canal and I have a cocktail with a friend, and that's what I need as well.
Yeah, making time to feed your soul. That doesn't, and some people need the structure. Some people actually enjoy that kind of structure, especially, but I feel like that is if it comes from more of a place of using it for a workout. But yeah, I have also evolved I do a lot of morning rituals. So I have, from working with my life coach last year, I do my, it was a morning meditation, but it was the same thing that ended up feeling like a chore. So I was like, I don't have to, I'm not a morning person. I never have been. I'm not going to pretend like all of a sudden I'm going to turn into one. So I turned my morning meditation into like a 2-minute visualization where I just think about exactly how I want my life to be, focus on that. And now I've actually evolved that into the Silva method, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's basically like another really cool way to visualize, to manifest. So I've been doing that for a couple months now. And then after that, I do my my daily affirmations, mantras, and daily goals. So I have 2 weekly goals and then 3 daily goals. So it's like one thing, that's going to be really easy to do, another thing that might be pushing it, and another thing that might be on that goal list for 3 days in a row because it takes a little more. But doing those things, that's like the right amount of structure for me. And that is what has helped like me see a change in my own life. So
there's a balance. There's a balance to it, but you found that by trying and listening to yourself
and evolving.
And if something wasn't working, that original meditation, then then having that flexibility to change it. It's also, I think, good to have, if you have these rituals and you have these things you want to do every day, it's just acknowledging that it might not happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Yes, release expectations. That's the biggest thing. That's actually one thing. I found my notes from my very first life coach session the other day, and it was like the first thing he ever told me, and told me like 20 more times, was let go of needing things to be a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sum up like everything. And it's true.
It would have been easier to have someone tell me that rather than figure it out after like 4 years of trying to set up this like routine for myself that didn't work. But I mean, even like we've started, writing these gratitude lists before bed, and some days it looks like 3 pages of journaling about what I'm grateful for, and some days I'm doing a bulletproof list. Bulletproof? What? A bullet. A bullet list, whatever. And other days, bullet points. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah, keep you around. And on other days, I'm like drunkenly murmuring what I'm grateful for in his ears. I fall asleep. But we're doing it every day, pretty much.
Again, balance. So someday you're drunkenly thankful. Some days you're writing a novel. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Yes, I don't remember the original question.
Either. Let's see what do I have here. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
I say yes.
I'm trying to think.
About what?
Well, okay. So during your time on your spiritual journey, who has been an like a big inspiration for you? And it can be someone from your life or from, I mean, I know Yoga Girl has been one.
She's massive. She's massive. Because she's what got me into it. And then I fell out because I started sort of seeing her as like one of those sort of more shallow yoga personalities, even though she wasn't. I think I projected that because she was so popular. And then I kind of fell out of,
I'm just kidding.
What?
I hope she doesn't watch this. She's literally like live right now too. That's so funny.
I know, she's doing a tarot card reading or something. And then I fell back into her. I don't really know how or why, but it's been interesting to watch her journey because her life is very much mellowed out. Her practice has like drastically shifted, especially since having a child. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see that happen to someone that at the beginning of their journey, there were these perfect pictures like on the beach, like perfect poses upside down. And while there is still some of that, you see that like even this massive like yoga, spiritually grounded person has a practice that is flexible and some days is just crying on the mat. So it's really nice. Yeah. Well, but anyone.
Well, I know, but I feel like the level.
I've cried every day this week.
It's fine. There's still like 80 planets in retrograde, so just kidding. I think we're coming out of it.
No, there was something though. I watched something and it was like, just be aware that you're going to be very defensive and very angry this coming week. So just be prepared for those emotions before they come. And I didn't prepare for them. So it's been a rough few days.
Well, if you're interested, Bambi's friend Tam, who is also now joined into Zencation, she has a book called The Energy Almanac, and it's basically a projection of based on all the cosmic bullshit that's going on. It's like how it might affect you and blah blah blah. So it's like you can literally plan your work if you work for yourself and your life around like the powers that be and like what's going on, so that you can kind of like not feel crazy all the time, which is really cool. So I need to buy that.
Yeah, kind of how I prepare myself for full moons, like when I know they're coming, and usually I just sort of cry all weekend in Joshua's arms. He's like totally chill with it, and I just let it happen because I just know that it's something that isn't, you don't try to find the reason.
We're practically werewolves, women.
That's a story for later.
Oh no.
Anyway, I will say that in terms of flexibility, I am still not really, because I've gotten into cycling. We started jogging, although that fell off a little bit too.
Physically flexible,
yeah. Emotionally, I like to think I'm more flexible than I was. Physically flexible, not that much right now, but that is okay as well. And I still feel like if I wanted to start teaching next week, I could, and it doesn't matter that some of my students would surpass me in their physical skill set. It's about how you can guide a person.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
In it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was the same thing with ballet teachers. I mean, I'm trying to think. Actually, one of them was on here. My high school ballet teacher, Dioma, who I absolutely adored. I still adore. Yeah, we reconnected in B school. So crazy. I'm trying to think. Some of my ballet teachers in college and stuff, it was like of course they're not in tip-top shape, but it was all about how they got the information across. I did have teachers that would sit in chairs and talk the combinations at us. That's just not usually very well received by a bunch of, high school, college age people who are like there to work their booties off. So
yeah. But it is funny, I've noticed that the more personalities I find, be it on Instagram or any other like media, the more I find that there are people that do practice yoga or maybe teach yoga. Hi, Nanavi. when they're really grounded and really very spiritual and have more of a religious take on it all, they're not like these ripped bods that you
Right.
see when you see ads for like yoga studios and stuff online, but you get this just very real experience from interacting with their media. I just think it's tough. If you're starting yoga, it's so easy to get sucked into
The
that
perfection.
world. There is this world of spirituality, and I even say yoga with air quotes because if the moves aren't matched with some sort of internal commitment, then it's not. And there's so
I
much of that there that it's so easy to get wrapped up in it. And I sort of did at the beginning and then steered away from it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it takes some stepping back.
Self-reflection and what really works for you.
Yeah, or just failure. Like I just massively failed at doing it all the time and got really frustrated with it. And by backing off because I was disappointed in myself and thought, fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, I was able to look at it differently.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Genevieve.
Yeah, that's so true. And I have to say, like, having lived in both Vegas and LA, if there is one thing that does not add up to me whatsoever, it is all of these like women who are in the yoga practice that's all about like self-love and connecting to earth and connecting to spirituality, who are coming in, who have altered themselves so much physically that they don't even resemble the way they were put on earth. And it's more about like, it's just very superficial. It's all about the Lululemon, and it's all about the going for coffee after with your friends and stuff. Versus, and I mean, if that works for some people, and it does, to get them to the studio to burn some calories, that's great. But it's almost like you don't want to call it yoga then, right? Because it's so much not about the spiritual practice.
I think that we can't, whatever choices they've made for their body, obviously, like there's no judgment there, and everyone is just a product of how they have been raised and what this patriarchal society has taught women about how they look. But I do agree that it can be tough when that is marketed as yoga, and it almost makes you want to distance yourself from calling it that even.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Like sometimes I hesitate. Like I don't necessarily want to call myself a yogi, or I just consider that I have a physical and a spiritual practice that very closely resembles what yoga is, but not entirely either. I mean, I'm obviously not religious, but
that's actually something I wanted to ask you. When I was introducing you before, I was gonna say my yogi sister, but then I wanted to ask you, I don't even know if you know this, but like what constitutes being able to call someone a yogi? Do you have to have like 8,000 hours of YTT and like have meditated with monks, or is it just like you learn?
No, I think everybody has it. I mean, you might get different answers from different people, but you do not have to have teacher training, even necessarily formal training with a teacher to call yourself a yogi. I mean, there are types of yoga that it's very little physically. There's not much. I mean, you have like yin and you have restorative yoga. Meditation is a form of yoga. It's a part of yoga. It's not separate. It's not meditation and yoga. Meditation is yoga. And so I think it's more of your spiritual connection, your spiritual groundedness, your intentions, that constant. If you consider yourself a yogi, I think that you're on a conscious journey to reach this place of clarity. What am I looking for? I should know this. I should remember this from my training.
It's okay. You've got great lighting. We'll just stare at your face. It'll come to you.
My light is covered with 2 white sheets right now because it was too bright. No, I think that for me, if you call yourself a yogi, it means that you are committed to advancing yourself more spiritually than anything through meditation, through your asanas, your physical practice, but you're on this constant quest to release judgment of yourself, judgment of others, violence towards yourself, violence towards others. And yes, I mean, that means like any sort of violence to yourself. It can be staying up late when you know you need to go to bed. Like that is a form of self-harm. And it can be violence towards others can literally mean eating chicken. Like there are, when you reach a state where you really are practicing these values, then chances are you'll naturally find yourself drawn towards social work and volunteering and veganism, and that just happens as you sort of progress up. And I eat meat, I eat cheese.
But with that being said, I don't think that and obviously everyone's on a different timeline with their spiritual journey. For some people, they're not even going to awaken to that in this lifetime, and there's no right or wrong. It's all divine timing, right? But I don't necessarily think that, you know, in order to achieve ascension or to get to, you know, 5D, like you have to, I shouldn't have put quotes on that. I don't think that it's the same for everyone. So for some people that might look like veganism and a very heavy yoga practice every day. But for others, it could look like healing 1,000 humans in their lifetime and, you know, XYZ. So I think it all depends on the person too.
Yeah. But yeah, sum it up. Like my definition of yogi would be someone who is on a committed spiritual path towards full and complete enlightenment, which we can define in like on another day. So
yeah, I'm not ready for that right now. I mean, I'm ready for enlightenment, but I'm not ready to talk about everything that might include. I think there are probably just so many different opinions on that. So, ooh, it's 3:33.
What?
Huh? It's 3:33 here. 3:33.
Oh my God, it's 3 p.m.
Yeah. Let me look at my little notes here. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I think we kind of covered everything I wanted to. Not all of these need to be a full hour. But is there anything else that you want to share or any questions you have? I could do a card read for you if you want. Okay. There's no pressure. I haven't done one of those live.
Maybe I feel like I can't say no to that.
Do you want
No, let's do it. Sure. What time is it?
What? Why? 3:34.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We can do it.
Well, how long does it take? Because we do a card read, but then there's got to be time.
No, this isn't
a little bit after.
No, it's not. I don't do tarot yet. This is an oracle reading, so there's like a million different ways to do it. But you know what I can do? I'm going to combine my modalities here as I continue to find my own. I'm going to tap into your field to do this. So, and I have this beautiful deck by Rebecca Campbell.
I'm going to tap into my field.
So pretty.
It's pretty.
Yes.
My field, I feel a little bit agitated, Heather. I'm not going to lie.
Great. Well, I'll be feeling that in a second.
Yep. You're welcome.
Okay. Just close your eyes for a minute. We're just gonna do like just ground yourself. I'm gonna connect real quick, so that I can tap in and make sure my energy shields up and all that. So stay tuned for our card reading. Just give us about 10 seconds. Okay. All right, so for those of you who haven't seen this magic trick in action, this is my pendulum. I use this for getting answers from the subconscious mind with the emotion code modality, which is what I practice currently for energy healing. And if this, what?
No pressure, but your new sister is watching, so.
Yay! Don't.
Hi! She's gonna be part of a crazy family.
Woohoo! Okay. So clockwise is a yes, counterclockwise is a no. To connect to Emily, I'm just going to say my name is Emily, and it's going to say no, 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 and all of a sudden you'll watch it switch directions. if I can hold it in front of the camera. So my name is Emily. Is Emily? It's telling me no. It's going to switch pretty quickly because it's easy to tap into my sister's field. There it goes. Okay. So.
A weak field?
No, just people I know well. I can. Oh, are you anxious?
Am I anxious? Is that a joke?
No. Well,
Yes.
Yes, I feel anxious. That's the one that I always feel on other people when I tap in my chest. Okay. So let's see. Let's just ask what you need to know today. Okay. So like, what does Emily need to know today from this deck? And that's what we'll focus on. So with this, I just tend to I shuffle the number of times that I feel, and I pull the number of cards that I feel. So I'm going to shuffle twice and pull one card. Boy, they're so loud. Okay. Oh no, I have
odds.
Oh. Okay. Oh no, we lost one. Do you think that's a card? No, it's just the bottom card. Okay. I usually do this on my bed because there's more space. So I'm just gonna try. So I'm gonna spread these all out willy-nilly. Let's see what does Emily need to hear today. I feel like it's this one. I can't do it. I have to do it quickly or else I'll second guess. So I have to just follow my intuition in a speedy manner. So when we look at this card, I have a little book about, like with a little blurb about what the card means, but it's first and foremost kind of the way you interpret it is the way that it should be interpreted. So I'll also show you the picture. Yeah, I'm not supposed to help you until after you kind of like come to it on your own.
Just them.
Whoa! Pillar of light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. Hey girl, guess you did something right in that yoga practice.
That's pretty.
That's so pretty. I can send you a picture later.
Can you read it again?
So, pillar of light, your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. And let me read you the thing. Okay. You are heaven and earth in perfect expression, a conduit for light of the heavens to earth. You are the rainbow bridge. Take time to meditate. Haha, that's ironic. Imagine yourself, because we're just talking about it, not because you don't do it. Imagine yourself as a pillar of light connecting the light of the heavens above with the earth. As the light shines through each of your chakras, you activate the rainbow bridge that many ancient scriptures speak about, raising your vibration and the vibration of the planet, linking the higher realms of the cosmos, guides, angels, and spirit with the ancient wisdom keepers and beings of planet Earth. They dance together through you. They sing together through you. Without your body, voice, and creations, neither can be expressed. For too long, we've been taught that God is outside of us, giving away our power to angels and spirit guides. But without you, they do not have a voice. You are the oracle. Do not look for guidance outside, for you hold all of the wisdom of our universe in the portal of your heart, in every cell of your body. Do not see the angels and guides as above you, for without you, they have no way of communicating. You are the oracle. You are the rainbow bridge. You are the pillar of light. Damn. That's some good shit.
I don't feel much like an oracle these days.
Well, gotta say you are, because right now there's a mass awakening happening spiritually. Everyone's vibration is just going on up and you are on your path. So it's definitely happening to you, whether or not things are clear right now. There's been a lot of people who have come into my life who are fellow healers and on their journeys as well. And it's like common knowledge at this point that there is a mass, awakening. I can't think of a better word.
Yeah, you can say awakening. It's a fine word. It's an appropriate word.
They waked up.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, and well, let's see. You're supposed to look for messages and like all the little details on the card and kind of interpret that. And that's hard because you can't really see the card, but there really are some nice looking rainbows in here. I'll send you a picture of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well,
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, and you know how, you're supposed to pick a deck that resonates with you, and I couldn't go shopping in the middle of a pandemic. I wasn't about to go at this point looking in a bunch of stores. But this one popped up, I think, on Hay House, and then I saw it again on like 2 other sites, and I found it on Amazon, and it was like there were only a couple left. So I was like, this one feels like it's calling to me. So
Yeah, it's either a sign or a flaw in data protection.
no, but you know what? Somebody was telling me this the other day. It's like everything that you see, everything that happens with like Google Analytics and Facebook creepers, and I don't know about Alexa, that's like a whole other demon. But but it's like it's all manifesting what you're supposed to see. I mean, some of it is obviously blatant search history, but then there's like a million decks out there. So yeah, I do believe that like the things you need to see will often show themselves through social media, etc., which is just because that's a thing that's at our disposal. Je know.
Yeah. But also it helps that when you are going through a sort of spiritual awakening, I don't know why I said sort of, you're also going to be more inclined to add friends and guides and gurus on media, so that does help. You're exposed a bit more to that. Once you start the journey, it's so much easier to continue it because you're exposed to people that will help you. I think the hardest part is beginning on any sort of spiritual path, be it meditation or yoga or energy healing or herbal remedies or I don't know, any of that. The hardest part is getting past the initial skepticism that's just bred into us and taking that first into that world. Once you're in that world, it's so much easier to continue and to go in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until you're this like crazy witch lady that you always thought you would never be, but you're actually grounded and happy and helping others.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that initial.
It's true. It's that's
really
people say that the road to the spiritual road can be a lonely one, and thanks to the interwebs, it's not been. That's how I found Zencation.
Don't feel very lonely.
I've been so lucky to have so many people in my life just pop in right when I was in the thick of the beginning of my journey. And you're right. Now I have a whole fucking bookshelf full of crystals. And our parents, for those of you who don't know, I always call them hippies. My mom insists that they're not hippies because they're younger. They're a little younger than that, I think, is what she was saying. But then like, but then what'd you say?
I said just flattering yourself.
Yeah, but then like it's like, oh no, my parents aren't hippies, but then I just moved back with them temporarily, and then my dad pulls this bag out of his closet and pulls out this shell and these smudge sticks, and there's like 40 more. They're so old. This smells disgusting. It smells like college weed. What are these shells called again? Abalone shells, right?
I can't believe you had that. No, but they've always been spiritual. I always thought of Daddy, growing up, I thought of Daddy as spiritual. That's why I always used to buy him those tiny little Buddhas wherever I went.
Those are for me.
Yeah, those are for me. When I was traveling, I never knew what souvenirs to buy him, so I started buying him little Buddhas. But then at some point I stopped. But now obviously, like, yeah, Mommy's got spiritual stuff now as well. But they are both.
Yeah, well, our mom now, she's been on her spiritual journey pretty heavily for the last year, but our dad studied shamanism back in the day, so he's got a lot of wisdom nuggets too. He
does have a lot of wisdom.
But yeah, I was literally trolling Etsy because I was going to buy one of those cute little shells and a couple of small smudge sticks, and Daddy goes, hold on, and brings out this like 70s gym bag full of like a bunch of hippie shit, and then like the fan for smudging, like this really elaborate like leather, looks like handmade like tribal feather.
I can't believe he had that all along. But then again, he whipped out some like really, really old weeds when I would come home sometimes in college.
And now this is on the internet for the world to see. It's okay, he's not on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, but what's funny is that we never like had really any of that growing up. Really. Like we were
Your lips are not
used.
matching up with your words. I wasn't really. I never went. You guys kind of started going to Unitarian Universalist Church after I was already in college.
But even that, for me, almost was a bit more of a social thing in high school, and and to like do some service work on our trip over to Romania. But I mean, growing up, we didn't really have much exposure to spirituality as much. We had some exposure to religion, and I would say balked at it. But but then I think about like the most grounded spiritual, maybe not spiritual, but I think about like the most grounded do-gooder that I've ever known, and I still think of Granddad. And but it wasn't like he was any sort of guru or shaman. He just kind of knew it. Because in part of this, I don't remember what I was reading something the other day. I don't remember all of it, but basically some of it was like you're on this journey and you're meditating, and you have to realize that you can't compare your journey to others because, frankly, some people are there. Some people don't need to consciously live their lives in a very like they just sort of exist in this different energetic level. So they don't need meditation in the same way. And I kind of feel like, at least when we were born, I feel like Granddad had that a bit more as the person we knew, not personal life, obviously, but as the person we knew.
Yeah, I think
I feel that a little bit with Joshua too, with my fiance, because he, for the most part, he can be very, very grounded. And when I was doing more meditation during the time, and I'd be like, why aren't you doing any? But then he doesn't get riled up. It takes a lot to get riled up. Thanks for tuning in, Genevieve.
Thank you.
Bisous, bisous. I don't know. It just goes back again to not comparing yourself to others. Or to what you think you should be doing, because some people need certain types of meditation more than others. Some people need the physical yoga more than others. And everybody's path is entirely different.
That's the hardest part is, and I think I'm going to do a whole episode on that, is when you start to really awaken and you really start down your spiritual journey, it is inevitable that you will outgrow people and situations in your life. And that is what happened, as you know, to me this past year. And the way it all happened was not necessarily easy, and that's all part of the journey. But like, if it didn't happen in the kind of negative but organic way that it did happen, like, I would be kidding myself. I would still be at that low vibration. I would still be at that low vibration, hanging out with, certain people who there's no way they're going to get it right now, maybe even in this lifetime. And like, that's okay to be able to be like, that's okay. I love you. I forgive you from a distance. You're going to understand when the time is right. That's like the hardest part. And then you make room. It's like pulling out the weeds in your garden so you can invite the new flowers who are on your vibration. That's why people say surround yourself with people who are on the same frequency as you, and the people who you strive to be like in that way, so that you can really match that frequency.
What is that song? Hardest part of life is letting go.
Do not know. Oh, that must be the same one as Until the Sun Comes Up and
No, this is something real.
So was that was Sheryl Crow's song with the lyrics that you never know, but that's okay.
But yes, it's letting go, setting boundaries for yourself too, saying, I am choosing to let go of the people and the situations that don't serve me.
Yes.
Now. And it's not just like cutting people out because you don't want to deal with them. There's a difference. No. There's effort, and you can put in this effort, and you can try to foster these relationships, and sometimes they're just not going to go the way you want them to, and you can say, okay, I care about you, I love you, I'm letting you go because I am not the person that's going to change your life. I am not the person that's going to spark your awakening. I am not the person that's meant to bring spirituality into your life. Somebody else probably is, and something else will probably happen in your life with someone or something, and you will go down your own path. But I have tried and I have not succeeded, and that means it's not me. And I'm okay with that. My ego says, farewell. There's somebody or something, you know?
Well, your ego is like what gets you to try to stay, really, I think, because that's like, I can fix you. Why can't I fix you? And that, as a healer, and we know Heather's dating history, that pattern is now done. Thank you, Jesus. But of dating.
That's messy.
People, yeah, well, just people who had.
I'm not one to talk.
Oh no. Dating people had unaddressed baggage, and then also that showed up in my friendships within the last couple of years. And you can't, if you're the only one putting in everything, and like people are attracted to your life but don't want to reciprocate on any kind of level, then it's not a two-way street. And these are the people that you outgrow and you move on and you let fall away as you blossom into this butterfly. And that's okay.
The thing is, though, not as simple as like letting go and shedding other people and then blossoming. Like there's so much to deal with. Like if you think about what I went through a couple years ago, a big part of that, I don't want to call it trauma, but a big part of that is still very much ingrained in me, that I think that everybody's a little bit manipulative. And I think that nobody really, like, not as honest, I just find myself very skeptical and thinking, well, this person's doing this probably to be that manipulative in that way. And that's not at all what I used to be like. I'm very skeptical of people's intentions.
Currently?
Always, yeah. Well, in the last couple of years. And I find that what did I want to say? I find that I just kind of assume that everybody's just kind of like not being totally honest all the time. I don't believe anybody like really likes me.
So that's all, that is all trauma. That's PTSD. Trapped emotions that are causing you to judge based on a really shitty experience that you had.
Right.
Basically.
Thankfully, I am in the place now where I'm with the relationships in my life. I bring that up, and I can talk to friends or coworkers about how I feel, and they can go, okay, I need you to know that you are valuable. So I have people in my life that I can have those conversations with. So it's not like I'm currently like stifling it all away and letting it fester, but it still doesn't help me get to the actual root of the problem. But it's just been an emotional.
So what I'm hearing is we need to do an emotion code session solely around that whole time period in your life, because there's probably enough stuff for well over one session.
Can you focus it on that? I thought you couldn't control what came up.
No, you can. If you're going in for a specific issue, like we do for immune systems or chronic pain, it's the same thing. Either it's trapped emotions from that time period, this person, this experience.
I mean, I don't know that. That's just a hypothesis.
I would venture to guess that you're correct, because that's come up in sessions, you know. And if there's breadcrumbs, there's probably a whole freaking loaf in there still. So we don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Taping it. There's a whole loaf in her heart.
Where is this loaf inside of me?
Your heart wall is made out of a loaf of bread. She's always hungry and she doesn't like gluten. But once we remove this heart wall, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's so funny. Totally unrelated, and sorry to whoever's watching. But we recently, post-confinement has been really difficult to like figure out a schedule, because you're used to just nothing, and then you have things but not enough things, and you don't know how to like gérer. That was a French word. You don't know how to juggle your schedule. You don't know how to
manage.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly the translation. You don't know how to manage your schedule in the same way. And it's so funny because we're in light rehearsals now we're doing Midsummer Night's Dream, the opens next week, but like different. And And the director was like planning rehearsals, and I found myself responding to every single one and being like, this should be okay because I can eat lunch right before I come. That one might not work so much because it's right during lunchtime. This one, yeah, 8:30 or 9, I can cook dinner after. It was all food related responses to the rehearsal schedules. It was all about how it fits into, because during confinement, I realized something about myself. And that was that it's been such
quarantine,
a long time.
For anyone who's watching in Paris.
Sorry,
it's called
quarantine,
not like
confinement in France. I realized that I haven't, backstory, I've wanted to gain weight for a long time, haven't been able to for a long time. Blah, blah, blah. Cheers. So during confinement, we were eating like good breakfast, good lunch, good dinner, experimenting in cooking and baking as everybody else does. And I'm realizing that probably all these years while wanting to gain weight, I've been thinking it's a bunch of different issues. And it might just be because I wasn't eating 3 full meals a day. Half the time lunch would be skipped or breakfast would be skipped. And all of a sudden, it's not that I'm working out less, because I was working out a lot during confinement. I was doing a lot of yoga. We were doing a lot of jogging just as an excuse to get out of the house. And yet somehow my pants don't fit. Yeah, it's just, thank you, because of the regular food, which is kind of an obvious thing. But I've always been like, I have the type of body where I need lots of small meals a day, but I don't necessarily do.
Made up some shit and told yourself a story for 20-something
years.
I'm
pretty sure some nutritionist told me that somewhere along the line.
Oh, you made up a story. We have to wrap it up because this will kick us off, and just so you know. And then we probably
to my medical history next time then.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you to everyone who tuned in or who comes back and watches this later. Thank you, Emily, for being here as our guest speaker, my little sister all the way from Paris, and who's not so
a little less focused. I'm sorry, but
it's
still.
Fine. I want these to be casual because I want people to feel comfortable to talk about topics that might not be comfortable in some of them, and that's cool too. So, next week we have another episode of Tuesday's Truth. I don't have my schedule in front of me, so I can't tell you all the details.
Again.
It's not her, so spoiler. But I love you. Maybe I'll just call you in a minute. Okay. For a minute. Okay. I love you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.